I grew up in a dysfunctional household, which led me to the streets and becoming rebellious. During my life in the streets, I found knowledge of self, which led me to becoming an entrepreneur. I opened a store called Hobby Boys, which was known in the community by many. I also opened a restaurant called Richie's. I was at the peak of my achievements. Things was going great. Life couldn't get no better. And then the pandemic hits. Now I'm back outside, enjoying life to the fullest. Despite the minor setback, it was a plan for a major comeback, which led me into the fashion and creating the brand B-Lo NY and bringing you this content at Real Spill 716. What's up, good people? It's your boy Toe Jitto coming at you again with another Real Spill 716. And today's topic is power refinement. Power refinement, and like always and like as usual, we're going to discuss what it means and what it represents. But before we get into that, we're going to get a moment of silence for those that lost someone. All right, let's get it. Now, power refinement. Now, power is a force or an energy or an essence of energy. That's what people may consider power. But in a philosophical sense, power is truth. You understand? And the truth represents light. And light is energy. You feel me? So when you want to talk about power, we're not just talking about strength. We're not just talking about brute force. We're talking about the actual aspects of what power is and what it represents. Okay? Now, power being the truth and the truth being the light, that allows you to gain a sense of clarity, a sense of surety, you know, in some senses, a sense of control when they consider you being truthful. They may consider you being in power, because a lot of people, they don't question what they may consider the truth or what sounds true. So that's why in philosophical sense, they represent truth with power, and power being the light, because light, like I said, is energy. Now, refinement is the process of re-cleansing oneself, which could be spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, socially, you know, all those aspects. What refinement is actually taking what once was maybe damaged, tarnished, misused or abused, toxic, and you're re-cleansing that. You're rebirthing that in a pure sense. You're refining it. You're taking it from its tarnished state and you're bringing it into its shining state, its glory, so to speak. So one may want to refine self through behavior. Once upon a time, one may have destructive behavior, but now he refined his behavior to constructive behavior. Now, the essence of power refinement and why they go hand to hand or together is because the truth will allow you to cleanse yourself. mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. But you gotta stand on truth. And that truth is your power. That power being your light, that light being your energy. That energy is put into your refinement. That refinement is your cleansing. Your cleansing brings you back to purity, which brings you back to the essence, which brings you back to the truth. So, understanding the utilization of power. Like I said, it's not just control. See, a lot of people think power comes with strength. A lot of people think power is force or brute force. Now, in a physical aspect, it is that. But like I said, in a philosophical sense, as a matter of fact, power is strength in all aspects, because mental power is strength within itself. One that knows how to use his brain and use his mind and can control his thoughts and can implement ideas. That's power. But those ideas and those thoughts, for them to have any kind of light, have to be founded on truth. And when they founded on truth, if you shine that light or that truth where there's refinement needed, then you will allow that light to cleanse the essence of that toxicity, so to speak. So that's what we consider the premise of power refinement. And the aspect of it can be used daily, all the time. But now we're gonna get a word from our sponsor. I wanna give a big shout out to our sponsor, B-Lo NY, with that great premium quality fashion. They got the stress tees. You see the quality. They got the stress tees of all types, colors. They got yoga sets for women, all types, colors. You see? T-shirts. Got your crop tees for ladies. Got your hoodie dresses for ladies. Got your bags, your crossbodies. I got me one of these already. Feel me? Got your suede truckers. Got your snapbacks. Official tissue snapbacks for you. Got your distressed hoodies. Got your distressed shorts. Got your beanies. Come on, man. Get fly with B-Lo NY. Premium quality, quiet luxury. Word. Check them out at B-Lo NY _2024 on Instagram, or you can check out their website, which is BLO-NY.com. Tell them Real Spill sent you. B-Lo NY, that born loyal New York. Always gotta stay fly in that B-Lo NY. For sure. And I'm back at it. Now, power refinement represents the rebirth or let's say, reconstruction, so to speak, but it's all for the good. You understand? You're not refining if you're destroying, if you're decaying. You understand? You're only refining when you're making it better, when you're bringing out the best aspects of it, of yourself, or of a circumstance or a situation. You understand? Now, understanding that knowledge is power, but the knowledge that you obtain has to be truth and enlightening in order for it to absolutely be power in its true essence. You understand? Because you can obtain knowledge, but it could be incorrect. It could be misleading. It could be, washed in a sense. But it's your due diligence to refine your knowledge. You understand? You can't take face value for what you read or what you hear. You have to do the research. And the research is the refining part. You understand? And that's what borns the power in your truth, because you've done the research. So you can't be questioned to a degree about whatever aspect or situation or circumstance you may be discussing, because you have the power, so to speak, because you did the actual research to obtain the actual truth. And when you deliver that truth to those that are ignorant, you are refining their knowledge, because when they're in a state of ignorance, they may believe, but they don't know. So when you come with the power, you come to refine. You come with the truth, you come to refine. You come with the light, you come to refine. And that should be your basis of how you use your energy or your power. It should all be based or founded upon refinement. You know what I'm saying? Because the whole each one teach one concept is not to just info bomb. It's not for me to battle wits. That's not power refinement. It's for me to reflect my wisdom and knowledge off your understanding, and for you to reflect your wisdom and knowledge of my understanding. And out of that power, out of that truth, out of that light, we born a refinement within ourselves. And that's what makes, that's the glory of power refinement. That's the beauty of correction, so to speak, because power refinement is a form of correction. You understand? Because I'm gonna utilize my truth as being my power. So if I'm in a situation or a conversation or a discussion where the information that's being delivered is not true, it's not right, it's not exact, then it's not gonna aid me in power. It's gonna aid me in destruction, because it's gonna be misleading, so it's not gonna allow refinement. So me being the holder of the truth, in order to refine his knowledge or refine his wisdom, I would have to implement my power, my truth, my light to a degree, and it's all done out of harmlessness. This is not something that's done out of ego and out of, like I said, battle of the wits. Your power refinement is a tool that you should utilize in your daily life's corrections, because it always starts with self. You understand? It always starts with self. In your daily corrections, You can't tell someone else how to be right and exact unless you're striving or living to be right and exact. And that's a source or a form of power refinement. We're going to get another word from our sponsor. Pop out Enigma, where you could go and get all your social media needs met, where you could go and rent out podcast space to do your own podcasting or your own YouTube channel, where you need photography, you need product shots, you need on-site film work. Pop out Enigma. My man Louis Armstrong will get you right. Tell him Real Spill sent you. Now, I'm going to get into a little segment or a little story about power refinement and how the actual essence of it worked for me. Now, once upon a time, I used to be, let's say, lost. Right? I used to be lost. I used to be one trying to find my way, trying to actually gain an understanding of what this thing called life is actually all about. And out of obtaining knowledge of self, that was my source of power. That information and those lessons in so many angles and from so many perspectives, because I'm universal with it. You know, I don't just stick and standpoint at one segment, or I don't stick to just tradition and I don't just follow. You understand? That's another source of power, being a seeker of absolute truth. You know what I'm saying? Now, in my quest for that absolute truth, you know, I kind of, you know, had my run-ins. Had my run-ins with the law. I had my brief run-ins with the Reaper. You know, I had my run-ins with life. Life was lifing. But I say that to say this, that the power in the lessons and the power in the knowledge of self that I obtained allowed me to refine my ways and actions and my behavior. You understand? To where it sharpened my senses in the world that I existed in. You understand? My power began to shine light, but it was my enlightenment and my truth that refined my ways. Real spill. But yeah, get back on topic though. Man, like I said, power is like a force. Power is an energy. And if it's fueled by truth and it's governed by honesty and it's governed by direct, I want to say, if it's governed by direct, real, genuine intentions, then you will see how your power or your truth will begin to shape and mold your life around you, because you're not going to accept anything other than refinement. You're not going to deal with the mediocre. You're not going to let your cousin be half-assed. You're not going to let your child be half-assed, because you're going to understand that the power within them is the truth. And as long as you living by truth, I'm not saying live by facts. That's not what I'm saying. Because facts can be changed. Facts can be altered. What I'm saying is living by truth. And truth is absolute. It's the It's the breakdown of the why and the how come to the absolute bottom line of reasoning. That's truth. We can't break it down no further, and it's all evident if we tried to build it back up. That's truth. But that building back up process, that's refinement. And I always state and I always advise or recommend that everyone should have power of refinement within they self. In these days and times, you should always be correcting your ways so you can see and understand clearer in the errors of your behavior. And that's how you refine self. And that's my take on that. Real spill.